on YouTube, these little like YouTube exclusives. It's just been, they've been pretty short because I immediately have to run off to do something else. Thursday is like my day where I can, one of 2 days where I can schedule things, like interviews and one shots and things like that. Because I obviously stream Monday through Wednesday over on Twitch, and so it has to be like I'm struggling to find words. It has to be really short because it's usually a brief half hour I have in between the my work day, because I do still work, and then all of this stuff. Hi, Cyber Ninja, welcome back. Good to see you. Hello, hello. Oh my gosh, how have you guys been? How have things been shaken? I have, oh my god, also I got my hair done. I forgot to mention. I got it done. It's a little bit shorter, not much shorter. The goal is to get it, the layers are really uneven prior to this. They're still really long layers. They look almost like a long wolf cut, actually, which looks really good when it's curled like this. And then also I got the bangs short up a little bit. So they're thicker in the sense that they're like wider cut, but it's not just like a single strand of white that then goes to, it's hard to explain, but it's an upgrade. And then I can do, hold on. If I extend it out, I can do some like kind of anime style slut strands, you know, as they call them, with these bigger bangs out off to the side and these ones more in front to kind of frame things. So, and then it actually shows the color on the side too. And then the back is getting healthier. I'm stoked. It looks really good. And we, like, my hairstylist and I darkened up everything too. Oh, I'm excited. Notster says looking good. Thank you. Also, hi, House Duggan. Hi, Notster. Hello, Based cousin. Hi, hello. Notster says for a long time I thought it was just Money Beast, not the full ring of blonde. So it's no longer the full ring. It did used to be though, for the longest time. So I basically cut it down so that it's like, it used to be a full ring where including in the back, it would have this part be blonde as well, which you'll notice it stops right past my ear now. Because the back part was just, it wasn't contributing to the overall amount of blonde very much, like, because it was always hidden underneath my dark hair on top of it. They call it the proper term, if you want to look into it, it's called like a halo highlights, I think, or something like that, or like a halo dye or something with the term halo, because it goes in a ring around the base of where your hair starts. And I cut off the halo and turned it into 2 little spikes instead. So now it goes from here to the back of my ear on this side, and then here to the back of my ear on this side. And then it stops there because then I avoid unnecessary damage to like the back of my head where it used to be right at the nape of my neck. So that's getting a little bit healthier now. You can see like the red is more in there than it used to be. It's still a little bit lighter. Like you can see these strands here are lighter than these strands against it. If I hold them against each other, you can see the difference. That's because this all used to be blonde. That's also why it's way shorter, is because it used to be blonde. It used to be way less healthy because of all the bleaching. So I got rid of the blonde in the very, very back to make it like grow out healthier. So we're working on growing it out healthier. We're working on getting the layers more defined, and then also more like, not defined, the opposite, blended in more. And yeah, and the curtain bangs are a little bit thicker now. They go up to about here is where they start. So you can see all that. So it looks a little chunkier, but it's also like way cooler for hairstyles, and way more intentional. So I'm glad you guys like it. Oh my god. But yeah, let's see. Nasser says, oh, yeah, I know you were getting rid of it. Yeah, it was a little while ago. It was a couple changes ago. And honestly, it really doesn't look all that different. Like if I brush my hair forward the way I usually do on streams, it still looks like the same amount of blonde. It just looks healthier because this is like sideburns essentially that have grown out really fucking long. Like you can see it's just sideburn. And then, yeah, so it's healthier. It's made my hair overall a lot healthier. Natsu says, it's cute though, as a man I'm at the end of my knowledge of hair. There you go. That's fair. But yeah, oh my god, beyond that, updates lately. I have been reading a fuck ton. I actually started reading The Road, and my god, Cormac McCarthy, that dude, rest in peace, never once used his comic key. It's like, and this is the thing, I love post-apocalyptic books, and I feel like it came out of like a genesis that era from Hunger Games, you know, where everyone really loved the concept of people fighting to the death, and especially when you're a young adult, seeing people your age encountering these apocalyptic scenarios and all that sort of stuff. You know, and I have gotten into the adult version of that by reading The Road and all that sort of stuff, and I really, really, really wish that there were more post-apocalyptic novels for adults. I get that the young adult ones are there. I want more than that. I love the like deep, like intense themes of the road where the guy has to keep like a pistol with exactly 3 shots in it for him, his wife, and his boy if things ever go wrong. Like that's the intensity and like the implication of cannibalism and the implication of really like horrible things happening and the implications of like raiders that roam the countryside without explicitly saying, oh, we saw a bunch of raiders roaming the countryside. Like it hints at stuff, and it tells it in such a way that like actually gives a little bit of credit to the audience, which I don't see in young adult novels. So I really want to see more like apocalypse novels like that. A lot of people point me to Stephen King and like The Stand. I'm not a huge Stephen King fan. I'll read it if there's nothing better to read, but like it's just tedious. I'm trying to read Blood Meridian right now, all that sort of stuff. I also got House of Leaves on hold at my library, so I'm excited to read that. It's not post-apocalyptic, it's just a horror, but I'm excited for it. Swan Song, says someone. It's the best book ever. Okay. Swan's Song. Swan's Song book. A post-apocalyptic horror novel from 1987 depicting the aftermath of a nuclear war and a battle between good and evil. Okay, but is it a battle between good and evil in the same way that Stephen King does it, where he all of a sudden it's like, oh, we have literal manifestations of evil and literal manifestations of good, where people suddenly get magic powers? Or is it actually like moral greatness? I don't know. Let's see. Also, it's a nuclear war, which is cool because it's like that could happen. Let's see. Individuals are caught up in the onset of nuclear war. Supernatural stuff and a demonic shapeshifter. See, that stuff always kind of throws me off because I'm like, I just want the humanity behind it. There was this young adults, like, oh my God, what do you call it? Stephen King has always been overrated, says Look. I actually kind of like some of his short stories. I don't know if I can sit through his entire books anymore. I don't know. I appreciate his contribution to the craft more than I think most people do, but still. Cyber Ninja says, daily dose of Joseph. Funny enough, mine is in a bun held by a hairpin made from a paintbrush. That's kind of cool. And also Open says, no, it's unbelievable. Please try it. Okay, I'm down. I'm just here for anything that's post-apocalyptic at this point. The closest thing that I can think of that's like that level of realism, but again, it's young adult, so I can't read it as much anymore. I'm looking for something, the adult version of a series called Life as We Knew It. And the premise of this book, right, it's actually like super cool. It's a young adult novel and it centers around this teenage girl, and the scientists, NASA, go around telling people at some point in, I think it came out in like 2012, they tell people, hey, there's gonna be a really cool like cosmic event happening here soon. Like everyone get your telescopes because on this day at this time of night, you'll be able to see a meteor hit the moon. And everyone is like super excited for the event. Everyone like gets their telescopes out. It's like a whole thing, almost like the same way that you would get together and watch an eclipse happen. But what ends up happening is the meteor is way denser than the scientists predicted. And it ends up not only hitting the back of the moon, but knocking the moon closer into Earth's orbit. And then all of a sudden, that triggers the apocalypse in a way that's like a lot more slow and meaningful. It's like the slow degradation of humanity and of society, where it just turns into, the tides get way fucking stronger and it basically wipes out everything along the coastline. And then after that, you have to deal with like summers that are turned into basically the equivalent of nuclear winters because the moon's pull, its gravitational pull, not so much closer to the Earth, makes it so that magma starts piling up against the surface a lot more strongly, and you suddenly have volcanic eruptions everywhere covering the Earth to the point that it coats the entire world in ash and all the plants die. And so it's like that sort of stuff. And it talks about this girl like starting off totally normal, but slowly like the schools shut down, and then she eventually starts keeping this journal, and she's like worried about how many more pens she'll be able to find in order to keep the journal up. Steven says, what was this book called? It's called Life as We Knew It. It's part of a trilogy. It's like the first book takes place in America, the second one takes place in Puerto Rico, and then the third one takes place in, I think, America again, but the Puerto Rican heroes and the American heroes like meet up. Like the teenagers, I guess, get together in the end or something like that. I don't know. But Based says Yellowstone would wreck everything. That's the thing, is I like looked into it after reading the book and rediscovering it like earlier this morning. I was looking it up because I remembered it from my childhood, but I couldn't remember the title. And I was like, is it actually possible that something could knock the moon closer into our orbit? And it's not. It's so thoroughly not. I think I forget exactly why, but it just like wouldn't work like that. And instead I started looking up realistic apocalyptic scenarios, and people were like, yeah, nuclear war, that's it. That's really like the most popular one. Either that or of some form of rabies becoming zoonotic. Zoonotic meaning that it crosses over from animals into humans and turns into a rage virus and then turns into the whole 28 days later thing. So it's not unlikely. Like as far as like the top 10 apocalyptic scenarios that could possibly happen, zombies are on that list in some form or another. So Jordan says, I like fantasy books because I hate this reality. Dude, I feel you. That's why I play D&D. That's also why I hate futuristic novels, because it just makes everything that's a problem in our current society enabled by things like future technology. So I don't usually do things like cyberpunk and future TTRPG systems. I usually do past because it seems simpler. Rothon says asteroid strike is a real chance. Yeah, I've heard that too. So it's like asteroid strike, nuclear war, the electronic grid going out, like a blackout, I guess, is also up on like the top 3 or 4 possible apocalypse scenarios, because apparently our grid is like really fucking weak, like way weaker than people think it is. Title stuff, not so much. I don't think that was on the list. But yeah, Adeline says, have you seen 28 Years Later? I have, and I've read the script. I haven't seen the movie, sorry. I've seen clips of it, and I read the script, and have looked at a couple analyses of it, especially because I hate zombies. So, Hansi, I'm actually right there with you. I fucking can't stand zombies as a concept, so that's why I read the scripts for movies instead of, like, actually watching them, because I like knowing the stories behind them, and I want to get the references, but I hate zombies, and I hate jump scares, you know? Rodon says mass EMP would be bad. Yeah, hold on, let me look this up. I have my computer right here. What are the most likely ways an apocalypse would start? Okay. Let's see. Basically, it's just saying, yeah, humans are going to fuck it up with global warming. We all know that. That's not even an apocalypse scenario at this point. That's just like the future. Environmental degradation, same thing. Nuclear war is the top one. Others that are non-anthropogenic include meteor impacts or supervolcanoes. Okay, supervolcanoes was the one I forgot about. Apparently in this book that I was talking about, it would be like the ash from the volcanoes blots out the fucking sun and makes it so that we fall into a constant winter because we can no longer get heat. So you get wintertime all the time. DVC said, are those mostly solar flares on the grid, or did we move under other options? Oh, I haven't looked at the solar grids thing. I can look at what Reddit says, r/preppers. Yes, okay. The top comment says, pretty much everything boils down to a disruption to supply chains, either a weather event, a collapse of fucking emails, fuel price spikes, anything like that could cause a collapse in supply chains, and then that would cause famine, and then famine would be an issue. So one of the other things I read recently is Tender is the Flesh, which is a post-apocalyptic, it's not apocalyptic necessarily, but it is like semi-apocalyptic, where society still works and people still have jobs and things like that. But it's like it's a future where all animals contracted some sort of disease, we think. And every single animal was susceptible to it. Birds, cats, dogs, humans could potentially get it. And it killed all these animals and made it so that we could no longer eat meat. Because if we ate meat, it would cause us to contract the disease. So as a result, we started eating people instead. We full on had like massacres where we were like ending all of, like, people went and like cleared out all of the zoos, dogs, cats, any animal in captivity was, and then they got rid of all the farms, everything like that, and then started farming people instead. And it's a fascinating novel. Highly recommend reading it. But also there was a really big human aspect to it where a lot of people were like, well, what if this famine, this disease is totally made up by the government as a form of subjugation? Because if you could get tried for, criminal crimes as opposed to other crimes, sorry, if you could get tried for a crime, then you could be sentenced to be sold for meat. So yeah, I don't know. Nasser says, funds pry on disease fiction. Yeah, and the descriptions of how they like cut apart a human torso and the slaughterhouses and how they work is really visceral. So yeah, it's really interesting. I highly recommend it. It's really short too, and it has a really cool twist at the end and like some really cool stuff, and not a traditional twist. You won't expect it, but it's really cool. Let's see. Jordan says, the book series I'm reading / listening to is called Portal Wars Saga. I don't think I've heard of it. I'm assuming it's unrelated to the video game. And DV says nuclear war also has fun side effects. If they are detonated in the atmosphere, they also act as very large EMPs. Holy shit. So yeah, there's this book that is, fuck, let's see if I can find it. Book talking about realistic nuclear apocalypse. Okay, I think it's called 15 Minutes? No, what is it called? There's a lot of books that basically talk about realistically step by step what would happen. Oh yeah, Nuclear War, a Scenario. It's by Annie Jacobson, and she's like not necessarily a fictional artist. She's a journalist. It's nonfiction, and it's all about minute by minute what would happen if there was a nuclear scenario. And it starts off with things like, 12:02 p.m. the president receives word that things are happening. 12:03 the president ends his meeting of the day preemptively and then begins making calls to this person, this person, and this person. Meanwhile, August 6th, 1495. I don't know. It's like a bunch of stuff that goes into the past of like nuclear war, and then also the present and what the step-by-step super fucking realistic scenario would be and how everything would play out. And so, yeah, it's super cool. Hi, Katarina. Hello, hello. And then also, hi, Matthew. Oh yeah, Daily Doses of Josephs as have you ever run or played a game based on a pre-existing property? I've been DMing a game set in Hyrule for coming up on 6 years now. I haven't, only because I don't have a lot of information about, I guess, like existing properties. I'm not very good at lore for things that isn't... How do I put this? I don't know a lot about different IPs. Outside of Skyrim, I really don't have a lot of, like, I never played the Legend of Zelda games. I don't know anything about Pokemon. I don't know, like, God, fucking anything about anything. I haven't played a lot of games. I haven't really gotten into different IPs. So I don't have that much interest in playing D&D or retrofitting D&D to those sorts of systems. I have played D&D games inspired by other IPs, though. So I'm currently, my home game is a Game of Thrones like style, high political, high fantasy, like all these political factions working against each other and having to work off of like a political map of who controls what land and who has interests where and who's spying on who. That put into Curse of Strahd. And so I'm currently playing that as my home game, but it's not me running it. It's Too Hard the Bard, Jade. Notster says Elder Scrolls plus D&D. So I think they have something like that. They have an Elder Scrolls board game for sure. I don't know if they have a TTRPG yet. I don't know. The Elder Scrolls has a lot of lore to it. I can't imagine Bethesda's super interested in selling out their IP to the fantasy games sphere. If anything, like I might get into the Dragon Age TTRPG, potentially. No promises. I don't know. Katarina says I'm currently in Curse of Strahd. Yeah. And then let's see. Daily Dose of Joseph says my first exposure to D&D was my friend babying me into it with games without character sheets, but based on Pokemon and Skyrim. So all I had to do was roll dice because I was a baby and feared math. And that's how most people should do it when they baby people into TTRPGs and try and get them into TTRPGs for the first time. I honestly think the best way to do it is to do all the math for the person. Do not make a new player make their own character sheet. I'm begging you. It's hell for them. They won't know what any of the numbers mean. You should like do a one shot where you hand them a created character and walk them through like 1 or 2 combats and then sit them down and be like, hey, what kind of character do you want to play? Like, do you like the concept of, magic or melee or ranged attacks? And then like have them choose from one of the main, classes, and then kind of take them through a BuzzFeed style personality test and figure out what their preferred subclass might be, what their preferred spell loadout might be. Have them choose their own common magic items and don't have them choose anything else. And then hand them their character sheet at the end that they built and then play like a session or 2. And then after that, when they get to leveling up, then you teach them how you did it and how they should start working around points and things like that, Cyber Ninja. Let's see, responding to someone else. And then let's see, Tripples says, dang, this stream has grown since I last stopped in. Yeah, I should be streaming more. I just keep forgetting. And then I'm Spartacus says, Bethesda sells out to Hasbro. I will cry. It's really unlikely. They would sell out to Modiphius first because Modiphius has already put out the Fallout TTRPG. And so I don't think that they would break rank and then go sell out an entirely separate RPG that historically has used all the same frameworks and systems to fucking Hasbro instead. It's really unlikely. Hasbro would probably buy Bethesda before that ever happened, and even then, I really don't think that's a thing. Max says, I thoroughly enjoy the Dragon Age world, but their magic system is just the only thing I can't get into. Yeah, it's too esoteric. I love the concept of blood mages, and I think every magic system should have a form of blood magic or life magic. But I don't know, man. It's a little bit too hand-wavy. Like, why is enchanting this whole separate thing? And how come only dwarves can deal with it? Like, what's the root cause of that? Where's the lore describing why that's a thing? Like, there's no why. And I hate lore that doesn't have a why behind it. I need to know it all, you know? Jordan says, I made my D&D character out of Lego. Fuck yeah, dude. I love it when people make Lego terrain and things like that. Because if you have the Legos lying around, it's way cheaper than trying to build your own, and it takes a lot less time usually. And especially cheaper than like buying Dwarven Forge or anything like that. That being said, papercraft is a lot of fun too. Let's see. Spartacus just takes a sip from his trusty Vault 13 canteen. I love the Fallout lore so much in theory. I really want to get into what the experiments used to be for all those different vaults. I just haven't had a chance to like read through it yet or play the OG games. I do have all of them, like 1, 2, and 3. But Hansdy says, did you ever get into Game of Thrones? And what are your thoughts on it? I feel like I did get into it. And I binge watched it up through season, 6, I think it was? After the part with the dragon. And then I kind of dropped off of it because it was just... I can't remember exactly why. I think it partially was a result of the internet telling me that it ended really badly and me not wanting to experience that. And also knowing that it doesn't get expanded upon as a TV show after that, you know, and that it kind of just ends there. I feel like I would need to, if I was going to do anything, I would want to go back and start from the books and read through the entire book series, you know? Because it does have really cool lore, and then I feel like I'd enjoy everything about the TV shows better. Because I love TV shows that are faithful to their source material. But as soon as it splits off and stops being faithful to the source material, you know, I can't sit with it. So, yeah. Spartacus says, if I have a D&D player I really like, I'll design them in Hero Forge and try and have them printed and sent to me. I'll then paint them from there. Yeah, I love Hero Forge. Eldritch Foundry has been my thing for a while now. I actually have an affiliate code, I think, in the Discord for Eldritch Foundry. DC says, something about robbing thoughts, I guess. And then, let's see. Oh yeah, DBCU said, I mean, that is a fair place to stop and just pretend it never got renewed. That's what people say. I did see the last episode, so I know how it ends, and I didn't, mind you, the last episode was like the first episode I ever saw. I used to live, this was back when I was in college and it actually first came out. I was living with a bunch of roommates who had been keeping up on the show week by week, and they all got together. I just moved in with them, but they already had a house together, so they all knew each other, and they had this weekly ritual where they would watch the newest release every single week on HBO or whatever. And so 1 or 2 times I would like go up to their part of the house and like sit with them and like kind of watch, but kind of be on my phone at the same time, you know? And I watched them watch the finale. It was like a huge thing. They had a bunch of people over, and then I watched their reactions after the finale. And I was like, Jesus, what the fuck? You guys loved this show. And their reactions were like so horrified. And that was pretty hard to get over. But at the same time, it made me want to watch the rest of the series to understand why they were so horrified at it, because I didn't know anything about the show. So, I don't know. Hansi says, I also kind of want to get into the books, but unless he finishes the books, I'm not going to. That's the thing, too, is I'm really loath to get into series that haven't finished yet. I watched Pluribus recently, and it's only got 1 series out, 1 season, but I kind of just like, I wish I had waited until more was out. I prefer binge watching entire series that are like fully finished. Like Broadchurch, for example. I just read that recently, or watched that recently. Season 2, abysmal, but seasons 1 and 3 are really good and like really fantastic and really like thought-provoking and interesting and realistic. And it's cool, you know? Let's see. Cyber Ninja says, I gotta go. My puppy woke up and is slightly spunky, so have a great rest of stream. Hello. Oh, say hi to your dog. And then let's see. Steve says, I love Eldritch Foundry for my minis. Their STL files, not STI files. That's different. Are amazing. Yeah, they're really cool. Their team is really nice too. They're helping me work on some potential collaborations down the road, so keep an eye out for that. But they're really easy to work with and wonderful to communicate with and all that sort of stuff. So it's chill. It's fun. Let's see. What else? Yeah. I have all these pages about nuclear war open. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, and Hansi says, Invincible is making me upset that I have to wait for the seasons to come out. At least with that, though, wasn't it based off a comic book? It's kind of the same as oh my god, you guys remember the movie Snowpiercer from forever ago? It had Chris Evans in it, and it was like I think it was mid Captain America or pre Captain America. I can't quite remember. But the oh my god, also Jack says speaking of minis, just started the blending and glazing and lining minis from the Reaper kits. The Wizard came out great. Thanks for pointing them out to me. Dude, yeah, absolutely. Oh my god, the Reaper kits are my favorite for learning how to paint. That's how I learned how to paint. I cannot express, like, they're so good and so worth the money. And the Reaper paints in general are like so cheap, and they come in those eyedropper bottles so they don't dry out the same way that fucking what do you call it? Like, what's the big brand? Citadel? The pots do? God. Anyway, I was talking about Snowpiercer, and it was a movie forever ago. They changed it a lot, but it was actually originally a graphic novel before that. And the graphic novel was, I believe, French, and it had like 3 different releases to it. It had a whole series related to how Snowpiercer turned out. And so it kind of sucks that the sequels weren't made into like full-length movies as well. I get why they turned it into a TV series instead, but I also feel like I don't know, they could have done a lot with that world and that concept of Snowpiercer, especially when you think about the fact that there's multiple trains and all that. It's like, man, they could have done so much more with the movie series too. But yeah. Oh yeah, Rue says when they make the guy stick his arm out and it freezes, that was crazy. Yeah, I don't remember that being the graphic novel. But one thing I do remember, you know that scene where, and spoilers for a movie that's been out since like 2010, but there's a scene where they go into the cart. So if you don't know what Snowpiercer is, it's a movie where the premise is there's the world has frozen over. It's another apocalypse scenario where the world has globally frozen, and the only sources of life still are these trains that circumvent the globe, and they can never stop. And the one that they're on is called Snowpiercer. It's the name of the train. And they like, well, technically not, but it, like above board is called Snowpiercer, and it like powers through these like world circumferencing tracks. Any ice that grows onto the track, they like break through it, and the water that's broken through, or the ice that's broken through, is taken into the train and then melted down for water. It's constantly running off of, I forget what, it's like some sort of resource that they use. Anyway, it's this perpetually moving train, and the people in the front are like the upper class, the wealthy. They have access to actual meats and cheeses and sushi and things like that, and this new type of drug, and they can party all the time. They have an education, they have like hairstylists, all the things that you would normally have in this train. There's like special carts for every scenario you can think of, so they can live normal. But in the way back of the train, there are all these people who are like the poor class, you know? Their only purpose really is to just either exist or provide the occasional child to the upper levels, the front carts, for reasons unknown. They're trapped back there. They aren't allowed to leave the back carts. And if they ever misbehave, then they get punished, usually by having limbs chopped off, or they get starved out. And every time they try and revolt, the front carts are like, hey, don't you dare. You're lucky we even brought you onto this train. Ruben says, the Jello is the food. Yes, and so the way that the people in the back get fed, well, the people in the front are fed like farmed meats and cheeses, and they have whole aquariums that they maintain, and they have all this entertainment and stuff like that. The people in the back have to subsist every day based off of rations of this purplish gelatinous, like basically a Jello chunk. A Jello MRE almost. Oh, Jocko Slack tip. Aw, $2.99 saying best wishes with vitamin D. Yeah, thank you. Oh, I can't wait to not sleep all the time. That'll be nice. I'm gonna be so productive, dude. You have no idea. But thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, so they eventually they revolt, and they're starving. You know, their children have been taken away. They're in terrible situations that are overcrowded, and they don't have any medicine or anything like that. And so they revolt. They start moving cart by cart up towards the front, and they're trying to take the engine. And they eventually reach a middle cart that produces their little Jello rations. And they look down into this vat of material that's like being chopped up and printed out and like molded into these Jello rations. And in the movie, they look down and it's cockroaches. It's like all insects being churned and like legs flying everywhere. In the book, it's human excrement from the upper carts, and like dead bodies and things like that that are churned up and taught and like made into Jello and fed to the back carts. They sanitized it a little bit for the movie. I think they actually had the CGI fully planned out to also be like chopped up body parts and excrement and things like that. But then in order to keep the rating down, they had to change the CGI in post-production to insects. And that's why Chris Evans, when he looks down at the vat, is so disgusted, and that's why he's like, don't tell anyone about this, to the other guy who looks down into it, is because it was originally supposed to be a lot worse. So yeah. Anyway, what was I talking about? I can't quite remember, but we're at the end of stream anyway. So I appreciate you guys for hanging out and for saying hi during this little like, YouTube exclusive stream. I have these every Thursday at about 5 o'clock Pacific, give or take a couple minutes. So I will definitely take into account the recommendations that you guys have for horror and post-apocalyptic stuff. And I hope to chat to you guys more about this sort of stuff and TTRPGs and whatever else is going on next week on Monday for our YouTube and Twitch and Instagram and TikTok stream, where we'll be gaming and doing a bunch of stuff. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.